Shell Shock.
Dudes and dudettes, Major League Butt Kicking is back in town with episode number 8 of Technodrome Tales, the official podcast of TechnodromeTales.com. I am Jerry, also known as Barbecue17, and I'm filling in for hosting duties today on the podcast, and joining me is one of our co-hosts who is almost always here. He's the Leonardo of the group. He never lets us down. It is Kendall Hallman. Kendall, how are you today?
Episode 9, by the way. Have a great show, guys.
9? Oh my gosh, that's Brad Bell.
I was gonna step up and say that. That I don't know how I feel about being the Leonardo of the group. I
mean, I'll take that if you don't want it because I love
I'm doing well, ready to talk about this episode. It was an episode.
There's a lot to talk about. It certainly was an episode. And we also have Miss Emily Rowley joining us, who is our guest host. Emily, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. We're glad to have you back on here. This is your second time on Technodrome Tales, right?
Yeah, I was on for the movie before, and I'm glad to be back. I love Ninja Turtles. I always love talking about it.
Speaking of the movie, after watching this episode, my daughter and I watched some of the movie tonight. You know, she's seen it before, but she wanted to watch it again. She assured me it's her favorite, the one where the turtles are little. And so she was running around watching the movie, but she was also dressed like Wonder Woman. And so during bedtime, she also told me she was having to fight crime and fight the Shredder because he's behind all of this. So we also had to... We also had to pretend that Raphael was at story time tonight, so I had to read to an invisible Raphael. So, who wanted to hear the Chew series of books by Neil Gaiman, apparently. So that was bedtime. I had a very turtley evening. So, anybody else have any fun turtle things happen this week?
No, I don't think so. No,
I wasn't invited onto his Turtles podcast. That happened.
Okay. Well, for some people, that's the most turtley thing that ever happens to them at all.
So since Brad is not hosting this week, I'm gonna steal a segment from War and Beast called Kendall Reads IMDb.
Oh God!
All right.
I am going to read the trivia section of IMDb for this episode. Call Me Your Friendly Neighborhood Weed Whacker is a reference to Marvel Comics' arachnid hero Spider-Man, who is often called Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That's the only trivia from this episode.
I like that.
It's good.
So Brad Bell is not here. The real Brad Bell is not on the podcast tonight. I will tell y'all, there were a couple podcasts of our early days of the confirmed Epic podcast, the official podcast of the epicreview.com, where myself and our other host, Andrew Stokes, Brad didn't join us. So we would make up excuses for about 3 podcasts in a row that Brad was with us, but like that he had laryngitis or that like he had no audio. And so we would like knock on things like Brad was knocking for yes or no, or we would have different ways to fill in, like Brad could only ring a little bell or something. So if you find some of those old episodes, you could find us pretending that Brad is on the podcast at various times when Brad couldn't make it. So, but tonight we've already let the cat out of the bag. Brad's not here, but I will start things off calling Barbecue Reads texts from Brad Bell. And Brad Bell texted me while I was at lunch today about this episode. And sorry, I have an old phone, so I'm having to pull this up. It does get text, though. And he said... Hold on, let me scroll through them all. Hold on. Now I'm getting all of his texts from earlier where he said he wasn't going to be here.
So he only sent me one text. So
I had like 30 of them. When Brad texts me, Brad texts me.
When
okay.
When he's got a bunch of them. He only sent me one text. Actually, well, technically 2, because I responded to him and he acknowledged it. He said, "Episode is so bad. IDK if I want to do this pod anymore!" ! LOL.
That's the text. That's the text I got. I just had to forward through all kinds of like
so
other
bad
stuff.
it just ended the podcast, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if this was so bad, episode 2, verse 3, season 2, episode 3, that Brad wanted out of the podcast. So let's go ahead and talk about it. This is season 2, episode number 3. It Came From Beneath the Sewers. It originally aired October 15th of 1988. It was written by Larry Parr, directed by Bill Wolfe. So let's go ahead and talk about initial thoughts on the episode. Emily, I think you just watched it, so give us your initial thoughts on this episode.
It was pretty bad. It was all over the place. What I thought was like they go out to the carnival, and I'm thinking like, okay, so this is gonna be like a carnival episode, cool. And then it just quickly drops that, and now it's about a plant thing. But then like they split up, and the plant thing's not a thing anymore, and April gets kidnapped for no reason. And then the plant thing comes up again. Like it doesn't really it doesn't have a lot of it just jumps around all over the place and doesn't really have like an identity.
Not a good flow going on here. So
yeah, exactly. It was hard to like get a handle on the episode, but there was like, and the animation was pretty bad. But I mean, I haven't watched too many of these, but I remember the animation in like the initial miniseries being pretty good.
Yeah,
usually. But it got worse as it went on.
Yeah. The backgrounds were really nice, though. That's something I've noticed consistently, that the backgrounds are really well done with like a lot of, if they're in the sewers, there's a lot of grime or texture or cityscapes, even though the animation varies quite a bit.
Well, backgrounds are like static images, so they can just kind of make really pretty backgrounds and then like just do whatever on top of them. I actually like the music a lot because it brought me back to like this era of cartoons.
I think that it actually is a thing like with the animation. It is inconsistent because the original miniseries which we reviewed those were like they were passable. I mean, aside from them getting the turtles wrong sometimes. There weren't a lot of like egregious things.
I remember the action scenes being pretty cool. Like if you just go back in YouTube, like the fight between the Foot Clan and the Turtles, it looks cool. Yeah. Like,
also, we're gonna get to an animation mistake later on in the episode.
There's a lot of them.
There's one that was really, really bad, and Brad did not note it. I just added it to the notes.
Okay.
When we get to that,
I see it. All right.
So did you have more thoughts on the episode, Emily? Sorry, we kind of interjected.
Yeah, no, not much else besides that. I mean, like it was just like really bad. I guess Shredder is not like crank somewhere else right now, and it's the first time I've seen Baxter Stockman in a long time from this series. Like, I had no really recollection of what he was like, and that was like kind of interesting to see him being this like sycophant, like just like kissing butt to Shredder.
That's sort of whiny. Shredder's whiny at some points.
Yeah, he steals a crystal from a kid and gets like kicked in the shins. It's like, are you kidding me, Shredder?
Yeah. I imagine if the episode had been like, the kid goes to kick Shredder in the shin and like his foot gets all shredded up and stuff. This escalated quickly,
Well, Shredder was like super competent last week, in the last episode. Like he was. He took on all 4 turtles in like a fair fight. Like they went at him one at a time, and
because this week it's a carnival fight,
and it was. But I see.
There you go.
There's a lot of random gags that didn't go anywhere. Like when they show up as pizza men, like there's no reason for that. Like
there was no point. Well, let's jump in and talk about. I wasn't on the last episode, which was the Incredible Shrinking Turtles. So somebody fill me in real quick. What is this alien crystal fragment that they're looking for?
So an alien landed on the Earth, and right before he died, he told the turtles to look for the shards of a crystal and gave him a way to track it. Shenanigans happened, and Shredder got a hold of it and was able to use that crystal to shrink the turtles and shrink half of New York, which the turtles got restored, but half of New York never got restored. Also, at the end of the episode, the turtles got away, but Shredder still had the crystal, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." Like, you know, Shredder kind of won, and then we start this episode, and I lost it.
Okay.
Okay.
That
just happened in between episodes.
Yeah. The turtles did not get it back from him. I mean, like, yeah, in between episodes, they just, you know, accidentally, I don't know, accidentally forgot where they put it.
Okay.
It's with Baxter Stockman's cell phone that he lost.
It is kind of interesting, though, that there is, I mean, some element of an ongoing plot, because that's not something you always see in cartoons from this era.
I did not expect it when I.
Yeah, I mean, that is interesting to me. It's not like, you know, crazy continuity, but something is going on. So. Right. So the turtles are tracking this down, and I'll reiterate Emily's disappointment. I was hoping it was a carnival themed episode as well, because I'm always kind of interested when, you know, something has a carnival theme. I have no idea why. It was pretty funny. They found a reason to let the turtles just walk on in, because they said, you know, we'll be part of the freak show, or the sideshow, or, you know, whatever they called it. But Brad commented on it in his show notes. You really do, and it always hits me every time. You really see how short the turtles are in this series when they're up against normal people.
Mm-hmm.
It's jarring. It's really strange to notice that. I mean, I guess I never think about the turtles being that short, but yeah, they're super short this episode, and it's hilarious when you see those shots where you can see their full body and like they only come up to, you know, April's chest or something. It's very odd.
I feel like they were that short in the comics, and there's that short in 2003 series, but I could be wrong. I mean, I remember them being like pretty short characters, because one thing, they're supposed to be teenagers, and also they're mutants, so it's kind of like it kind of makes them a little bit weirder.
What I noticed about the shortness in this episode was not the turtles, because the turtles are always short. And also, like, especially because usually the turtles are next to is April. And April is the sort of, you know, the older, super tall woman. Like, that's kind of a cliche or a trope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she's like a little bit more than a head taller than them. Well, the turtles are a head taller than Splinter.
They are. Yes.
So the turtles are 4 foot tall. Splinter is like 3 feet tall. and you really never think of Splinter as being super short like that.
Yeah.
At least on that short, yeah. But I'm looking at a picture of the 2003 turtles, and yeah, they're like a head shorter than April, even in that one. And I kind of remember the comics and being like shorter than April. I'll look it up again.
Yeah, I mean, probably the only reason they were tall in the movies is that they were dudes in suits.
Yeah, and I think I always think of that, and I think of the toys, and the toys made them the same size as everybody else. So I never considered that they were that short.
Yeah, and then in the Michael Bay movies, they got them like huge. So
yeah, they're really large in those.
More like monstrous, yeah.
Again, we continue with some really weird, some really strange dialogue in some of these episodes. There's a part where I think Michelangelo says he's so hungry he's hollow. Is that right? Like, he wants to find the pizza stand at the carnival when they pull up. And he says, I'm so hungry, I'm hollow. And I'm like, that's just again, it goes back to like, this must weigh a megaton. Like, I guess it's correct to say, but it just sounds really weird. I'm so hungry, I'm hollow.
Yeah. The bit sort of around this time where Michelangelo wins the stack of teddy bears, and his interaction with April there is, it's like the writing is bad, but also the voice acting is really bad in that scene.
And like, he's throwing he's playing the milk bottle game at a carnival. And is he throwing the balls with the nunchucks, right? Like he's using the nunchucks? He's
batting the balls with the nunchucks.
Yeah, okay.
Hitting them with the nunchucks to get them into the whatever. Hit the bottles, yeah.
I was waiting for one of them to be rigged. I was waiting for one of the bottles to not knock over and like Michelangelo to ninja kick somebody because he knows what's going on.
I will say that there was a little touch where the guy giving him the teddy bears did look kind of angry. Like he was like,
but it's a whole stack, and he just drops them on April. Like, here, have a teddy bear, and he gives.
She says, "You should not have done that."
Yeah, it's really weird acting there.
She was recorded in the red room, apparently. So
she's trying to say, "Oh, you shouldn't have," and it's a joke, like because like, "Oh, you shouldn't have," like that was nice, but actually,
you really shouldn't have done.
Really shouldn't have because that was obnoxious.
It'd be funny if she, like, the whole rest of the episode, she's carrying around a giant stack of bears.
That
like, everywhere they go. You know.
And then in her apartment later, Irma's like, where'd you get all those teddy bears? She's like, don't ask.
They just go off the whole rest of the season. You know, there's a plot where they're looking for this crystal. They have a device to find the crystal at the carnival. And what I really like is in Dimension X, when they're, like, looking at this map, for where this crystal is, they show Shredder the location, and he goes, "Oh, that's the location of a small carnival." Like, why would Shredder know that?
Shredder was super pumped for this carnival for weeks.
Why is it like on his radar to show him a random spot in New York, and he's like, "Yep, that's where a random carnival is, right there." Like, you know, it was just a really odd line. But they're
looking advertising on local television and Shredder. I mean, you can't go after the turtles all the time.
Sure.
The way that Krang is constantly angry at Shredder for not having gotten the turtles, a bunch of time must have passed. Like Shredder must be spending most of his time just sitting in his hotel room watching TV, and then like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go spend half an hour looking for turtles today.
Is he still at Slash for Cash, or maybe, or has that ship sailed?
I don't know. They didn't really. Most of the time when we see him, he's just wandering around Central Park. So maybe he's homeless.
Yeah. He's got a hotel room. You know, he's got a hotel room somewhere, and he's holed up.
They were in some facility at some point. Like they had computers and stuff. I don't know where that was exactly, but yeah,
he's staying at the hotel. He stayed at the hotel that Kevin stays in, a Home Alone, using someone else's credit card. Credit card? You've got it.
That was one thing in this episode is like April almost just hands her credit card over to some random kids, and it's like,
no,
it's like, that's a really bad idea, April. And the kids are really stupid for not taking it.
These kids find the crystal, and she's like trying to give them $3 for the crystal.
Which, why does she only have $3 on her?
She's a millennial.
April? No, she's not. She's explicitly not. This is in the 80s.
Back then, people had to carry cash.
Yeah,
but
or maybe she just bought everybody the admission for all the turtles.
She paid for someone to take all those bears away. Like shit.
So there is an establishing shot for where Splinter's hanging out, and it looks like some kind of garage. Like, I don't know. I can't screen cap this, or I'd show you guys, but
it's an abandoned AutoZone. Like,
yeah, it looks like it might be that.
You know, I will say though, $3 is like I feel like it is an arbitrary amount that cartoon characters have, because Rocco in Rocco's Modern Life, he always has $3 or $2, like a comically small amount of money that he can to buy all his groceries.
So in a lot of Weird Al Yankovic stuff, it was always $5.
$5.
Like in a lot of his shows, it's always $5, or can you lend me $5? Or in UHF, it's always $5. So, but $3. $3 would have bought you a G.I. Joe if your mom was nice enough to like go ahead and pay the tax and things back then. That's what I remember. $3 would have bought.
Maybe Weird Al was targeting an older audience that maybe had a part-time job or something.
I like that she then goes to Michelangelo and asks him for money, and he just has money on him, I guess.
In his shell. It's in my other shell. Like, okay. Weird thing we didn't know.
Speaking of that scene, I will say the one part of this episode that was genuinely entertaining and made no sense at all was the circus act,
the clown act. Yeah,
like, all right, We broached that can of worms now. So yeah, so the turtles are running around this carnival. I mean, they're tracking down this crystal. The Shredder's there, and some guy who apparently runs the sideshow pulls them in, accuses them of wearing turtle costumes, and they start performing a show in a clown car. But the clown car shrinks, like magically or scientifically or however. But it literally shrinks, and they have shrinking ladders and ladders that grow, and it was really strange.
See, if this was a tighter written episode, they could have like centered the entire episode on the carnival, and even have like this dude here like have the crystal, and that's how all this shit's happening.
I mean, it has to be. Like, that's the only explanation.
But he doesn't have the crystal, though. Like, he explicitly doesn't. Unless he just put crystal in, like, a water. Because they're using this, like, watering can to, like, make things grow.
Well, I was wondering if something happened in the previous episode, since it was the shrinking turtles, that sets this up. But it appears they just have, like, shrinking objects. Apparently this carnival has access to PIM particles, and they're doing all this Ant-Man kind of stuff.
You know what I'll bet happened? Like realistically behind the scenes, I'll bet, because obviously the quality of animation is way lower in this episode than in last episode. So 2 different animation studios did the animation for this.
Yeah.
There must have been some sort of rewrite at the end of last episode to not have the turtles get the crystal back. Because this episode is written basically, Shredder doesn't have the crystal, and then there's this shrinking and growing scene that only makes sense if that crystal is what's doing it.
That's a good point.
So that must be what happened. In between, I guess, continuity-wise, in between episodes, the turtles got the crystal. We'll see if that holds up. That's consistent with the next few episodes.
I mean, it's great if you're right, but I feel like it's just they didn't care. They just wrote whatever crap they wanted, kind of thing.
I can see.
Well,
that.
I mean, that would be why they didn't fix it. I mean, you wouldn't intentionally. There are continuity errors between these two, or things that don't make sense between these 2 episodes, and I don't think that I think there must have been some miscommunication somewhere. Like, I don't think it would. I mean, yeah, I do agree that we're holding things under a microscope that shouldn't be held under a microscope. That's
absolutely. We're sort of picking in fun.
Yeah, totally.
But I mean, that's the whole point of these kinds of podcasts. But
absolutely.
At the same time,
I think it's funny to point out that we're just bullshitting too sometimes.
I suspect that there was some sort of miscommunication or mistake, rather than it was just they just didn't care stuff. So we missed a point that I wanted to point out with the children.
Yes, the children.
So before, because what ends up happening is that Shredder jumps him and just steals the crystal from him, basically. Yeah. And there's a real quick scene where the animators see one of them is one of the characters is a white guy with kind of red hair, and the other one is either he's brown of some sort. Depending on the scene, he looks like he's either like maybe Hispanic or Asian, or he could be just a black guy, depending on the scene, because they changed the tone. But most importantly, there's a real quick scene right before Shredder jumps them where they switch races. The white guy becomes the dark guy, and
I need to see
the
this.
dark guy becomes the white guy.
Oh, you're right. I see that. When they're walking by right before right before they jump them. Yeah,
that was another plot point that was cut out. So.
That happens a lot with like the turtles bandanas, where like there's a scene later where like Raph's clearly on the gunner seat, and then they change shots and Mike's on the gunner seat. Mm-hmm. But like that's just because they have the bandana, and that's a little bit more understandable. But like, yeah,
right. I mean, it's understandable. It's not forgivable. But this was like even more.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what it came down to is it was a pretty quick scene that 4-year-olds were watching on their 12-inch CRT TV over the air, and
Yeah.
would definitely not be discussed 30 years later on a podcast.
No
There's
one
this-
ever conceived of that. So
There's this thing that's being shared around like the last couple days on Twitter, which is like pretty much an animation Bible for King of the Hill, and it's pretty interesting to read through.
yes, it is. I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it kind of gives you some perspective on like how those shows work, where it's like you'll have like one dude like that couple second clip where the kids are walking across the thing with their colors changed is probably that was like one guy who did that part, and he just got it wrong, and there wasn't as much like director oversight to this episode, I guess, that they didn't catch that. But I think it's interesting. That's how those things probably happen, is that like, again, one guy gets the color ideas wrong, and
I don't know if either of y'all have ever heard of Serial Geek magazine. It's a really good magazine that's put out, serialgeek.com, but they focus on animation of the 80s and some.
Oh, I figured it was like people that really like Captain Crunch.
Yeah, no. It is it's not a gritty reboot of Count Chocula either, but it's a really cool magazine that's devoted to animation of the 80s and 90s, early 90s, mostly 80s. But they have some great behind-the-scenes stuff like that, where they will take episodes and like literally dissect it scene by scene, where you can watch the different animation styles, or you can see them. And I mean, it was very common for a lot of animation to be done by different studios, sometimes an overseas studio. So you might have like a Japanese studio and an American studio both working on animation elements for completely different scenes. So, I mean, it's completely understandable why some of these things would happen when you literally were having to send things back and forth, not, folks being able to collaborate and, work on stuff electronically. So,
well, even in that King of the Hill meme that's been happening, like there's notes where it's like, if we do this and we send it to the guys in Korea, that are gonna get it wrong because of what you did, kind of thing. Like, so it mentions that stuff where it's like, don't draw the eyes this way or it'll look this way when Korea does it, kind of thing. Like,
yeah, the only thing is, like, for a scene like this, and also scenes where they palette swap the turtles, where there's the wrong voice actor or something like that, you would think. I mean, I'm watching these on the DVD release that is currently in print. It's not the one. I didn't get the full series in a truck, but I mean, it's the DVD. It's the official release that is currently in print. You would think that they would have gone back and remastered and made those types of corrections because this is a pretty important show.
There'd be people who are like purists though, who would be like, no, we want everything to be exactly the same. I mean, because there is something charming about bad animation in the 80s.
I mean, minor stuff, but I mean, yes, there. Well, I guess the thing is, it's Star Trek versus Star Wars fans, because nobody cares with Star Trek episodes. No, as I understand it, when you watch Star Trek on Netflix, there are a lot of they've made a lot of cleaning it up and corrections and reanimating things, and actually some of it looks pretty bad. But like, there's not really the same backlash that there is with Star Wars. So like. I guess it just depends on the fandom, but it just seems
it depends on the change too. I doubt you would have people who would be too up in arms if they corrected bandana colors and stuff.
Right. I don't think there would be either, but you never know. There could be that one guy, and then like, I don't know, like they just don't take the effort in to change it. And speaking of, like, if you really want to know what Star Trek, you should ask those kids, because they've seen every episode of Star Trek.
Yeah, they've seen every episode.
They do. When I see a guy in like a costume like that, Star Trek is not the first thing that comes to mind. But
I think it's because he mentions Dimension X and other dimensions and stuff like that. Then it's like
he says, "I'm from Dimension X in a distant galaxy."
Oh, he does say that. Yes.
Which I didn't realize that Dimension X was in another galaxy. I thought it was just another dimension.
Well, it's another galaxy and another dimension, I guess.
A long time ago. Like, what?
Yeah, something like that.
So crazy. So, well, we have the carnival part. Shredder gets the crystal. He takes it back to this lab with Baxter Stockman. And, gosh, they have a weird name for the crystal. It's what, the Eye of... I wrote it down, but my handwriting's terrible. I can't tell what I wrote. The Eye of Zarthoth, is that what they call
Yeah,
it?
something like that. And I want to point out too that like Kendall said they had the crystal at the end of the last episode, so the episode could have just started here.
No, this is a different. This is a different. That's the thing. That's the even more like the even bigger continuity issue. So they had the shrinking people crystal because this crystal is. It was supposed to be a MacGuffin. It's Infinity Stones or Dragon Balls or whatever. Like it's they had one piece of the crystal that you could use to shrink people, and then this is obviously a different piece of crystal because it makes a giant plant.
Yeah. This causes a plant to grow because Shredder's got something on his shoe that he stepped in from Dimension X, some kind of alien plant life, and the crystal makes it grow.
Which is weird because I don't think he goes outside ever when he's in Dimension X.
But in the they do make it sound like they're looking for the piece that Shredder lost.
Yeah.
So you could definitely take that as this was the same crystal, but it is a different crystal because it's a different shape. One of them's more round and one of them's like more of a prism looking thing.
So
okay.
When they're doing the experiments on the Eye of Zarthoth, I really thought it kind of looked like the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings. But I mean, obviously, the movies didn't exist at that point. So I'm wondering if there's any 1980s, the Hildebrand brothers art or anything that depicts the Eye of Sauron like this. I'm not sure. So, but they definitely called it the Eye of Zarthoth, which is weird.
Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons art is always very reminiscent of Lord of the Rings, so it could very well be that that's something in there. But Lord of the Rings is a thing. Like it was it's not like nobody heard of it before the movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just I was trying to think because I think the movies in some ways that depiction of the Eye of Sauron is literally a giant eye was I thought that was a little more unique to the movies versus appearing in fantasy art and depictions. But as of 1977, I mean, there was stuff that had, I think it's a 1977 calendar that has an Eye of Sauron on it. Not necessarily between towers like in the movie, but I was wondering if they're making a Lord of the Rings reference. So, because there's definitely a lot of references to other things in here. We've had a Star Trek reference, we've had a Lord of the Rings reference, and we're getting ready to have a Little Shop of Horrors reference, or possibly a Super Mario Brothers reference. But definitely, I think the Super Mario part comes from Little Shop of Horrors because the crud on Shredder's boot turns into a giant plant. And they use it to kidnap Splinter. And that's what happens.
Did they kidnap Splinter?
What is it?
Did they kidnap Splinter? I don't remember that.
Did they kidnap Splinter?
I don't think so.
I don't think they kidnapped Splinter.
I think April gets kidnapped at some point, but the plant has nothing to do with it.
April, yeah, they kidnapped April. They kidnapped
April. They're always kidnapping somebody in here. So. I'll be honest, there was definitely a part of this episode where I had to walk in the other room and put dinner away.
I don't blame you.
So I was relying on what my 3-year-old was telling me was happening. So, but the plant definitely was coming through the walls of the sewers and places like that. And I don't know, this episode kind of dropped off afterwards for me.
Yeah.
After the carnival scene, even though as terrible as it was at times, it sort of dropped off until Michelangelo showed up dressed like a flower to
oh god.
What? Yeah.
That did happen, yeah.
This was like Dumb Turtle Planet number 3 in this episode that had no value in reaching their mission. Going into the sideshow and doing the sideshow, that had no purpose in helping them get the crystal.
Mm-hmm.
When they go to Shredder's hideout and they dress up to rescue April, and they dress up like pizza guys. all they do is stand outside the door when Baxter shows up. There's green pizza guys here. They kick the door down. Like it didn't give them a tactical advantage.
No, they could have just knocked on the
wasted
door.
time.
Exact same thing.
So can I talk about April getting kidnapped here for a minute?
Let's
Because
talk about
there's
that.
There's a lot here. Okay, so first of all, after the turtles are going to go do something, and they say, April, if anything, keep the turtle phone. If anything happens, we'll call you on the turtle phone.
Oh yeah, she has a
The
turtle
next
phone.
scene, she's at home because apparently you can only be called on the turtle phone at home. I guess she learned from last episode because her cell phone went off in the middle of a meeting, which was like one of the best bits from the last episode.
I hate that I missed it.
I need to go watch it.
Yeah, it was pretty great. I mean, it was literally the my cell phone is going off in the middle of a meeting and it's an important phone call, and there's the main head news guy is doing this big speech about you've got to make split-second decisions and really go out there and do what you need to do. And she picks up the phone and gets ready to leave the room, and he says, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "You just told me I need to make split-second decisions, so that's what I'm going to do." And then she leaves, and he's like, "That was just a speech." But it was a great scene. This bit not so much, although there's a lot here to unpack. Okay, so first of all, she's staying home, waiting for a call, and she's there. I'm assuming this is her roommate now. Like
Irma?
That's
Irma,
the only
yeah.
explanation there with her friend. So that means that last season, when her apartment was destroyed, when her apartment building was destroyed in like the second episode or whatever, that she couldn't get a new place of her own. She had to move in with somebody.
That's kind of cool. A little bit of continuity there. It actually makes sense.
So there's that. But remember that the turtles told her, if we need anything, we'll call you. And so there's a knock on the door, and then there's a piece of paper that says, "Come to the abandoned warehouse right now, signed to the turtles."
That's right. Yes. Yes.
And like she's like, "Okay, I believe
that
this." It's because
just in case the viewer forgot that she had a turtle phone for like 2 seconds, in that time, as soon as she gets kidnapped by Shredder takes the turtle phone and calls the turtles with it.
Yeah, this kind of stuff happened a lot in the 80s.
I loved it.
Turtle phones and malfunctioning and whatnot.
Like, any respect I had for April, completely gone after this episode.
Well, I mean,
I still love her.
Shredder's gone pretty far downhill too over the last couple episodes.
I mean, this whole episode, everyone's written badly. Like
they can all bounce back.
But the whole April getting kidnapped doesn't even matter because like they go and rescue her, and then the plant starts attacking the city, and they go deal with that. Like there's like, why did Shredder even like kidnap her to get them over there? Like it doesn't make there's no point. Like none of it has any. This whole episode is just random scenes like compiled together in like shuffled together to like make an episode.
Yeah, it's another Shredder. I mean, you think it's going to be about hunting this crystal down, and then the whole thing is, he's going to make the crystal mutates the plant. What a great weapon to use to kill the turtles. And that's the whole, that becomes like the rest of the episode.
But like it gets broken up by this kidnapping scene for like no reason other than the fact that maybe they had a quota for April getting kidnapped.
I mean they had to have they had to
mark it off every episode. They made the footage of her being tied up. We got to use it. You know.
They had to have the turtles in the pizza delivery costumes. I mean, they look cool. Like that's
there could have been something cool with that for sure.
Well, I mean, if they'd have used it to get past security or something, that they're
there was no purpose though. They didn't get anywhere. They messed up.
It didn't even make even if it had just made back, they'd knock on the door and Baxter Stockman had opened the door because he saw that they were pizza delivery people. Although the best line in the whole episode is I didn't order any pizza, especially not green pizza. That is the best line in the whole episode.
I do kind of like as someone who plays a lot of D&D, this feels like something would happen in D&D where like the players spend like 15 minutes coming up with this like elaborate plan to get in, and then when it starts to like not work at all, the fighter's just like, okay, I'm just gonna bash the door in. That's exactly what that is.
I felt the final scene felt a lot like a D&D kind of battle, like with the plant and like, oh, let's do something silly and, you know, send someone in a costume to fool the plant, and then everybody just starts attacking.
Mhm.
It had that quality of D&D to it as well.
And like the plant has that one line, coochie coo.
Yeah. I can imagine like some you know DM like trying to, you know, play this plant and stuff and get everybody worked up, and they're like, oh, we'll put the rogue in a plant costume, and
He's
you're like,
totally the rogue.
okay, how does this work? So yeah, okay. So
I guess I just
got
not a good
April
piece.
back.
Yeah, they got April back, and then they go and attack the plant, and there's a lot of stuff that happens, but I want to mention like the one really egregious animation error for me was they have a short fight with the plant where the plant like puts Leo in a garbage can and then like picks up Mikey and tosses him away off screen. This whole time Donatello and Raphael are in front of the plant, and when he gets tossed off screen, he gets tossed near Raphael, who should be beside the plant. Like he completely changed spaces, and then Mikey gets mad at him, like, "Oh, like thanks so much, Raphael." And Raphael's like, "Haha, whatever." Like, okay, what did Raph do? Like, what? Why is that his fault? Like,
For not
none of that made any sense.
I didn't catch the animation error, but I mean the reason that Michelangelo is mad at him is that he didn't back him up. Like he wasn't.
But he was like fighting the plant, like just right in front of Mikey, and then he teleported behind Mikey when Mikey got thrown away.
Okay.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also a moment somewhere in here where they're trying to track the plant, and they see green ooze on the ground, and they're like, green ooze. The only thing this could be in Ninja Turtles is energy from the crystal plant monster thing.
Yeah, not the first thing that comes to mind is plant sap or whatever it was.
Although to be fair, I think that the ooze was purple in the first season or something.
You're right, it was purple. We even commented on that.
But still, it just seemed. I don't know. I don't know about this episode, you guys.
Definitely a little strange at times. So they dress Michelangelo up like a flower. I mean, to fight a giant Venus flytrap, it seems to have no purpose except the plant's vines kind of fondle Mikey a little bit, and he flirts with it, and then they attack it and kill the plant. I mean, that's what happens pretty much. So
there's kind of a thing where Splinter told them to get to the root of the problem, and Leo's like, "That's it," and stabs the base of the plant, and then it just dies instantly. Yeah.
I don't know.
He stabs the plant. The way that he stabbed the plant, you guys were talking about D&D. That this bit, it felt to me more like, and maybe it's because I've been playing Dark Souls, but it felt to me like a video game boss that you just have to hit it enough times, and then eventually it will die.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how you hit it. Shoot that dragon in the wing over and over and over again, and then eventually you'll arbitrarily it'll trigger a cutscene where you kill it.
Lisbon
was trying to save it. The weak point was the base of the plant. But I don't. Yeah.
The roots of the problem, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually this. The other thing this reminded me of is I watched the Castlevania cartoon this weekend. Did you guys?
I have not watched.
I've only watched the first episode.
Okay, so and it's like the second or third episode, the main character is fighting a Cyclops, and it's like one of the best action scenes of the whole thing. But there's a bit in it where he throws his knife and it hits the Cyclops directly in the chest. But you look at it and it's like this is this tiny knife on this giant Cyclops. You know, it barely got through.
Little tiny knives.
And he was like. And he says something like, "Please be dead" or something like that. But obviously he's not, because and this kind of reminded me of that. It's like this gigantic plant, and he like pokes I guess the 1 weak spot that he arbitrarily decided, but it just seems like it would not immediately completely shrivel up into nothing.
Like it's a huge stalk, and he stabs like a little tiny sword in a little bit of it, and it's just dead.
And it does like a Resident Evil villain, like it just kind of dissolves and goes away. A little bit of nothingness.
This is a Resident Evil boss, actually. Exactly.
Yeah, it is. Plant 42. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, we just bought a Venus flytrap this past week, actually at our house.
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
It's definitely not like this. So it's a little less exciting, but in some ways, it's it's less lame too than this. So
is it more like the one that April buys the turtles for some reason?
It's lots of smaller. It's like lots of smaller ones and stuff. But
Venus flytraps showed up a lot in 90s cartoons.
Yeah, I think that the remake of Little Shop of Horrors really made that a pretty big popular thing. And then of course showing up in the Super Mario Brothers, you have the piranha plants. I mean, there's a huge boost there, so everybody is using them at this point.
And I mean, I guess just the idea of a plant that's got kind of animal, like a plant that eats the flies is kind of a cool thing that you could play with in a show like this, but still. But yeah, they don't look like that.
Good thing Baxter Stockman wasn't a fly yet.
Oh gosh, that would be crazy if it was coming after him. Do y'all remember the video game Monster Party? Do you remember Monster Party?
Yes.
On the original NES.
Yes.
There was a level where there's a piranha plant that's singing essentially, like or I think in the Japanese version he's like singing, but for the US version they decided to not have him sing because they didn't want to, step on the toes of the license holders for Little Shop. But there's a piranha plant villain in that game as well. So yeah, piranha plants were all over the place during this time period. So, and we get one here. Kind of made me think a little bit of Snakeweed, an upcoming Turtles villain from the current cartoon series that's running, or
I remember that one. Yeah,
the 2012 series. So not the last time the Turtles would fight a plant-based villain. So that was this episode. It is what it is. I don't know what did y'all. I mean, how would you rate this episode?
Is it
whatever
like a
rating scale you want?
Whatever scale? Okay.
Sure,
we're not using Brad's scale.
I'm going to use Brad's scale because that's the one I thought in mind. But you can use whatever scale you want.
Please remind me what Brad's scale is.
Our scale is there's crap, good, great, and epic, and then you can have like a half swing on things. Like you can have an and a half or good and a half. So it's essentially a 10-point scale.
Okay, yeah. So, is what I would rate it. Is that like 3?
It's like a 2. 4. That's a 4 out of 10.
Okay, yeah, it's below average, but it wasn't like a. Yeah, because it was below average, but it wasn't like offensive or anything. It just wasn't very interesting. Like I was falling asleep near the end of the episode because it wasn't very interesting, and I'm just perpetually tired all the time, so it didn't help that the episode was kind of boring at the end there. But I mean, I haven't watched the 80s cartoon in a while, and I still kind of enjoyed doing it for like all its like cheesy jokes. Like one joke that I thought was kind of funny in the beginning was this little girl's like, "What's up with those turtle guys?" And she's like, "That's what happens if you don't eat your vegetables." And she's like, "Quick, pass the spinach."
Yeah, you're gonna turn green if you don't eat vegetables. What?
It was stupid, but I kind of liked how she's like, "Quick, pass the spinach." Like they have spinach.
I feel like that's another thing. Whenever I watch these, and this is true of rewatching Power Rangers and to a lesser extent Beast Wars, because I think Beast Wars holds up a little bit better than some of this other stuff. But
a little bit.
There are things
a lot better.
There are things that I remember from my childhood, like that adults constantly said, and blah blah. If you don't eat your vegetables, you're gonna turn green and into a turtle. That isn't that far off. Like
no.
it's to the point that I remember in Sunday school, the Sunday school teacher asked us what we needed to do to get eternal life. And a little girl in the class said, eat lots and lots of vegetables.
Yep.
Oh gosh.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
funny.
it works as well as anything else.
Somebody told her that. Yeah.
But yeah, so that it was a good gag, but it also definitely like hit me in the childhood kind of thing. Like I definitely remember people saying stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kendall, what do you think of this episode? How would you rate it?
So I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 turtles.
3 out of 5 turtles. Okay.
But one of the 3 turtles is Venus. So
Mr. Milo.
Okay. All right.
So take that as you will. It
sounds like it's a 2.5 out of 5.
It's a Leonardo, a Venus, and a Michelangelo. Those are the 3 turtles that I'm giving it. I'm not giving it a Donatello or a Raphael. So take that as you will. Take that.
I'm guessing those are your favorite turtles.
Donatello and Raphael are my 2 favorite turtles. Yes.
I would give this episode an N.5, which is, I mean, it wasn't atrocious like that. I got bored watching it too much. I mean, I enjoyed it while I was watching it, but it didn't really do anything for me. The fight scenes were pretty lame. There wasn't anything about it that really appealed to me, other than some of the absurdity of what was happening was still pretty fun to watch.
I think this episode. So if you think about the 3 episodes we've seen of season 2 so far, the first episode of season 2.
If you're hearing pounding, my dog is trying to get into my office.
I'm wondering about that.
That's my dog Canoe trying to get into my office.
The first
I think they hear the storm coming. We have a storm coming our way. They know it's coming.
So the first episode of season 2 didn't really work. Like they couldn't quite figure out how to be super goofy. They were still kind of trying to be a little bit less goofy than the last season. Second episode of season 2 is the best episode that we've seen so far. It was super. It embraced the goofy while at the same time having like an underlying interesting, compelling story that set up for potentially like an arc of episodes. This episode, it embraced the goofy, and it was plenty goofy. It was just that the storyline didn't make a lot of sense, but mostly it was. I mean, but it was fun to talk about, and it was fun to like. It was entertaining in a way that the first episode of the season was not so entertaining. So,
yeah, I really liked the first episode of the season, so I like the first episode of the season better. But
okay,
I hear your I hear your point. So, well, going through wrapping things up here, we've kind of given our point. I'm going N.5. Kendall's got 3 turtles out of 5, but 1 is Venus de Milo. Emily gave it a eh. And there was only one type of pizza mentioned, but it was kind of general. It was pizza with everything except green veggies. So
kind of a meat lovers, but maybe onions and mushrooms too.
I guess, but I mean, it can have jelly beans and ice cream and like Nutella on it as well. For all we know, we just know there's no green veggies on this pizza. So, all right. Well, that does us for this episode involving Venus flytraps and a circus act and kids kicking Shredder in the shins and lost crystals. And I think that little description just made it sound better than this episode really is. We do learn one really important thing in this episode, though. Baxter has very soft hands.
I remember that.
He brags about that.
I was surprised he caught that, too.
Baxter is a special person, so... Kendall, where can we find more of your work and the things that you're contributing to society? Kendall?
You can find me at kindlecast.ninja on Twitter.
Oh, there's Brad. He's back.
I'm back, guys. I just wanted to hop in and say this is confirmed crap for me.
But what rating would you give it, Brad?
I'd confirm it a crap, the lowest on our rating scale.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
Sure. I forgot they had names.
Yeah, crap, good, great, epic. So yeah, I was listening in the feed since we have such high production quality tonight. And Kindle, man, KindleCast.ninja. What about you? What about you, Emily?
Well, you can also catch Kendall and me on War and Beast on audioentropy.com, where we review every episode of Beast Wars. And you can also find my art on dangerchair.tumblr.com, on my Twitter at This Is Emeralds, and my Instagram, This Is Emerald. And I also have a YouTube gameplay channel, This Is Emerald.
What about you, Barbecue?
Come visit me at actionfigurebarbecue.com. I've been spending a lot of... Sorry, I got a dog trying to break into my study right here.
This storm is bad over this way tonight.
It's not here yet, but I think they know it's coming. Visit me at actionfigurebarbecue.com, BARBECUE.com, where I'm going through lots of reviews. This week, I've been reviewing a ton of the little... these little die-cast metal DC minifigures from Jada Toys. They're really cool. I'm digging them. I'm digging them hard. So they're Walmart exclusives right now, but they should be everywhere soon.
Am I back on?
Yeah. Hey, Ken.
You're back on.
Cool.
Brad got you.
Went down.
Brad,
Awesome.
Brad told us where we could find you.
KindleCast.ninja, right?
Awesome. Thanks, Brad.
Jerry, take us out of here for this week, my friend.
All right. Ninja vanished.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are owned by Paramount Pictures, which is a subsidiary of Viacom Entertainment. Our theme song is by the DJ Figure. That is used for our intro and our outro. All of our art, cover art, and album art is provided to us with the permission of Dasha Ko, who you can find on DeviantArt. Thank you for listening.
This has been a production of the GWW Radio Network. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Also, check out Geeks Worldwide at thegww.com for all the latest news, reviews, and opinions on video games, comics, movies, TV, cosplay, and more. Geeks Assemble!